Alrighty, here we go. Yep, looking good to me. Let's jump into it. So, in less than an hour, a group of young Sonoyama recruits had gathered at the school. Hey, Vancho, hey, Bea.
いやー、坊ちゃんも自分らをこき使ってくれますね。
I'm very sorry.
いやいや、坊ちゃんのためなら、たとえ火の中、水の中。
I couldn't get through to Gonzo. I had to call Horibe instead, and as for hell, that's what will be coming my way later. Okay.
たった今、囲みが終わったようですよ。自分らも借金の追い込みで家を囲んだりしますけど、学園ってのは初めてです。
He flashes his demonic smile again. I'm sure that not even an ant could get out of the school grounds now.
で、あれなんですよね。例によって桜田組には分からんようにしたいと。
Right, try not to stand
分
out.
かりやしたよ。誰か通りかかったら、ちょっと黙っててもらうことにしますわ。そういうのは得意でしてね。
Okay. In the case that someone actually does pass by, they won't want to get involved with Yakuza. Thank you for everything. I owe you one.
いいんすよ。借りはお金で返してもらえればね。
This is going to be expensive. Even with hostages being held in a school, these people aren't about to work for free. Out of some sense of justice.
じゃあ、あとは好きに使ってください。てめえは仕事
Yakuza
があります。
friends. Horibe lives with an unpleasant smile, driving away in a Mercedes Benz.
おいおい、京介、これどういうこと？
One of Papa's acquaintances. A bad person.
ちょっとお前を見直したわ。
I'm not a transformer. What? And Mom's the word about all this,
分
right?
かってるよ。東京湾に沈められたくないし。
It seems Hashimoto still hasn't called.
ただいま戻りました。
Usami had left the school grounds earlier. Oh yeah, you said you were going to get tools or something. What did you bring?
先日、秋葉の電気屋で手に入れたんですけど。
What is it? She produces a little radio-like device as she speaks to me. Ah, okay. That's cool.
これは、携帯電話に取り付けることで、ハンズフリーで双方向会話ができるという代物です。
Oh yeah, I've seen people use those things in meetings and the like.
それを、私の携帯につけようっていうの？
Tokita's voice held a doubt.
私も、犯人の声を聞きたくて。
I see.
なるほ
wait.
どね。
I'm not supposed to read that. She just took a big pause there. Okay.
もちろん交渉はユキに任せる。私は何も喋らないから。そう。
Tokita doesn't seem fully
ユ
convinced.
キは昔言ってたじゃないか。交渉事はチームで行うのが普通だって。ニューヨーク市警なんかではそうね。必要なのは交渉役と補佐役と記録係と、あとなんだっけ？指揮官と雑用係よ。でも補佐指南役は大きな文書でも派遣してもらえないことがあるわ。だったらここにちょうど4人いるじゃないか。
Tokita put her finger to her brow as if trying to collect her
気が
thoughts.
散るかなと思ったのよ。でも分かったわ。みんなで取り組みましょう。
What are the different roles?
そのままよ。交渉役は実際の交渉にあたる。記録係は状況の記録を残す。指揮官は決定を下す。重要なのはそれぞれ他の仕事に首を突っ込まないってことね。
So the primary doesn't make decisions and the chief doesn't talk to the criminal.
そうやって客観性を持たせるの。例えば交渉が進んでいくうちに交渉役が犯人に感情移入しすぎてつい相手に有利な条件を飲んでしまうことがあるの。
I see. But you're saying that things like that won't happen if someone else is in charge of making decisions, right?
さらに指揮官と交渉役を分ければ戦術が一つ増えるのよ。この前もそう。西条っていう人と仲良くなるために私はあなたを悪者にしたのよ。
It's more than a month late, but I finally understand what she was doing. You mean that's what the whole I want to help you but the big bad wolf Kyosuke won't let me? I'm so sad, Saijo-san. What should I do? Was all about?
勝手に利用してごめんなさいね。
It's okay, I understand. Now how should we divide the roles? I look around at everyone's faces. With Tokita as the primary, obviously. It looks like I'd make the best chief negotiator. Of course, that's what I was
ええ
thinking.
あなたは冷静だわ。いつも利害で動いているような人だもの。
She talks like she knows me, but the woman's
具
right.
体的には、例えば犯人がタバコを要求してきたとしましょうか。
Okay.
そういう時、私は必ずあなたに一度確認を取るわ。あなたは自分の判断で私に決定を下して。
But if I said you couldn't, you might oppose my decision, right?
そうね。お互い喧嘩にならないようにしたいものね。
The very nature of teamwork and coordination makes friction like that inevitable. Alright, Usami is the secondary
仰
negotiator.
せつかりました。できればメモを用意して。私と犯人の会話の流れを記録に残しておいてほしいの。文章を読めば、いくらか冷静に状況を把握することができるわ。
分かってたけど、僕って雑用なのね。
オチみたいになってるけど、重要な役割よ。例えば、犯人が夜食に弁当を要求してきたら、あなたが買いに行くのよ。
うん。それは分かってるけど。
そのお弁当が温まってなかったら、犯人の機嫌が損なわれると思わない？
分かりました。
Eiichi's face tensed up. Alright, let's get ready to rock and roll. I attached the little spy microphone to Tokita's cell. Usami pulled a notepad out of her pocket and readied a pen.
あとは、待つだけね。
Indeed, all that's left is to wait for Hashimoto to call us. A good while passed before Tokita's cell broke the dead silence. Oh. Alright. I'll hide myself a bit. Tokita Yuki had held an interest in criminal negotiations from a young age. Yuki's mother had been a famous artist. At the requests of community service organizations and certain members of organized crime rings, she had often visited prisons as a special guest. The young Yuki, who always waited patiently for her mother outside those tall cement walls, began to hold an interest in people forced to live on the other side. When she finally built up the courage to ask her mother about the prisoners there, Yuki's heart raced in excitement. Adults, the very people who say, we shouldn't do bad things, were doing bad things. Yeah, interesting how that would look through the eyes of a child. She wanted to know how the minds of these criminals worked. Why would someone kill someone else? Why would they steal? What drove that person so far away from normalcy? I want to speak with a criminal. The child's innocent yet unbridled interest troubled her mother. The girl had even tried to sneak into the prison with her once. The more she was told she couldn't, the more her interest waxed into a fervor. Of course, that's how it usually goes with kids. Because inside those walls lurked a darkness that the child would not be allowed to enter. Even so, Yuki managed to contact the criminal. A letter addressed to her mother came from a prisoner that she had once visited. Yuki begged her mother to read it to her, but her mother, with the good sense that comes with parenthood, would never let her lay an eye on it. However, while the brilliant little girl was not allowed to read the letter, she memorized the prisoner's name on the envelope. After some time passed and the prisoner was released on parole, Yuki made up an excuse to visit the parole office. You sent a letter to my mother once, a long time ago. Her wish was fulfilled and she finally met with the ex-convict. By then, her mother had passed away, and Yuki was living in an orphanage. In a place full of people who had closed and hardened their hearts, Yuki still managed to stay full of energy. She actively talked to people, trying to understand their thoughts and their feelings. It may have been a child's way of coping with the father who abandoned her and the mother who died. It may have been an attempt to come to understand herself by understanding children in the same situation as she was. She wasn't afraid to meet those people whom society had branded as felons. She had heard much about them from her mother, but more importantly, to the desperately lonely Yuki, there was nothing left to lose. She met with them once or twice a month. They were mostly kind-hearted people. She believed that it was some mistake of the laws that led to their imprisonment. Some of them even treated her like she was their own daughter. Yuki evaded the strict, unforgiving eyes of the orphanage staff and enjoyed dialogue after dialogue with men who had erred. That... It's weird. Almost borderline creepy, but okay. Yuki would later find out that these beloved conversations she occasionally snuck out to hold bore some similarities to hostage negotiation and counter-terrorist training programs. It's said that profiling, the painting of a psychological portrait of a criminal, is a skill that cannot be learned through the study of theory. There's no formal methodology for reading others' minds, and the most one can glean from a field manual was supposedly no more useful than a compilation of tips and tricks. Practice makes perfect, as they say, and actual experience is vital to success. In testament to this, government negotiations training programs required the cadet to conduct personal interviews with criminals in controlled environments such as prison. In theory, this provides a surrogate experience that aids in the negotiator's first few encounters. However, while these criminals had opened up to the eager girl Yuki, they occasionally admitted to lying to the officers who visited them for official business. Through these experiences, Yuki subconsciously absorbed the patterns among criminals who committed crimes with the deep-rooted motives and passions. When she thinks back objectively, Yuki realizes she was a strange child. While her friends read young girls' comics, she immersed herself in criminal psychology books. But the more she read, the more she understood that the patterns she experienced firsthand agreed with the words of renowned scholars. The girl, entrenched in her studies, eventually grew into a mature, somewhat far-sighted woman. These days, Yuki analyzes herself as such. A petty girl, unable to trust people without properly analyzing them, merely because she was abandoned by her father. Still, even that petty girl had things she refused to give up, things she wanted to protect. Yuki took a deep breath, shaking off the negativity within her. The negotiations were about to begin. First, she should decide her goal as a negotiator. It's important to have an objective while talking to people. Yuki chose a gentle tone of voice, so as not to meaninglessly irritate the culprit.
また連絡してきてくれて嬉しいわ。
時田、何の真似だ。
I could come back, but then I'm covering her face, and she's too cute. Hashimoto's voice angrily rampaged from Usami's equipment.
落ち着いてほしいわ、橋本くん。警察じゃないわ。よく見て、橋本くん。パトカーのランプでも見える？
He sucked in a breath and held it.
彼らは京介くんのお友達よ。そう。やけに柄が悪いでしょ。警察とはある意味対極にいる人たちだから、まずは落ち着いてほしいわ。
The exact opposite of police. Yeah, that's a good description.
否定はしないわ。
ふざけんなよこのアマー。どういう状況か分かってるんだろう。おめえの腹違いの妹をぶっ殺されたいのか。
His voice was downright crooked. Though I'm in the same class as Hashimoto, I haven't talked to him much. I can't believe a guy my age would take a few hostages and set up a shop in the school. It's just too surreal. People talk about increasing rates of juvenile delinquency all the time, but even seeing it with my own eyes doesn't shake the notion that all this is just happening behind some television screen. What drove Hashimoto this far?
Soね。あなたには今それだけの力があるわ。ただ 橋本くん、のりこ先生を殺すのがあなたの目的ではないと思うのだけれど。
それはそうだが、見せしめってのは大事だろう。
Tokita closed her eyes in thought for a
橋
moment.
本くんを見くびっていたことは認めるわ。橋本くんはせいぜい黒板に落書きするくらいのことしかできない人だと。
そうかよ。今さら反省しても遅いぞ。
まったくだわ。まさか夜中に学園に忍び込んで水葉とのりこ先生を人質に取って立てこもるなんて誰。
As she speaks, a sense of superiority builds in Hashimoto's voice.
お前は心理学を勉強してたって。
好きなだけ笑ってちょうだい。実際私も少しかじった程度の素人なのだから。
And she adds, sighing.
あなたを学園でなじったことは謝るわ。
She did corner Hashimoto in the hallway.
そうやってご機嫌を取ろうとしたって無駄だぞ。
分かっているわ。あなたはスポーツも得意だけれど成績も優秀みたいだし、そんな人が計算もなしに無茶を犯すはずがないもの。
He laughs, no, scoffs at her
いい
words.
だろう、時田。乗せられてやる。俺の目的を知りたいんだろ。
教えてもらえるとすごく。
Hashimoto declares his sole objective with an air of composure.
金だ。
お金。
Really? Oh. Even Tokita was taken aback.
250と5万。それに慰謝料の300万も足して白鳥理事長に払ってもらおうか。
255万。
What are these numbers?
バカだろ。理事長が着服した金だよ。5万はゴルフの優待券だったから。
His objective was money.
差し出がましいかもしれないけれど、それがあなたの本当の望みなの？
おいおい、まだ俺を見くびってるみたいだな。
というと。
理事長は腐った野郎だよ。俺の親父を警察に売っててめえだけは助かろうとしやがった。本来なら警察に出頭させたいところだ。
てっきりそういう要求かと思っていたわ。
でも俺の親父もそうだが、まず実刑なんてありえないんだよ。警察に引き渡したところで執行猶予だのとくだらねえことになる。
Okay. Hashimoto has a point. It's common for cases involving bribery to result in suspended sentences. It's safe to say that what Hashimoto really wants to see here, the director getting thrown in prison, won't be
なる
happening.
ほど。だから警察には関わってほしくないのね。
俺にだって将来があるのさ。
あなたはバスケットボールの名プレイヤーだものね。
I mean, do you really think that after this stunt you'll just go back to school normally, play basketball and all that? Like, okay.
のりこ先生には悪いことをしたと思っている。本来は白鳥だけを人質にする計画だった。
だったらなぜ？
白鳥を校門の前でさらって学園の中に入った時、偶然廊下で出くわしたものでな。
学園に立てこもったのはなぜ？
お前らが警察を頼るとも思ったからな。その場合当然俺は終わりだが、学園の評判もガタ落ちになると思わないか？
I see. Who would want to enlist in a school which had a hostage crisis? Even if he ruined himself, his revenge on this school would be exacted.
私たちが今日学園に来ることはどうして知っていたの？
一昨日だったか。お前とアザイが教室でそんな話をしていたのを聞いたんだ。寒空の中待たせてもらったよ。
Tokita sighed.
肝心の水葉はもちろん無事なのよね。
無事じゃないとさすがに取引にならないだろう。
After that, there was a little rummaging and mumbling. It was Shiratori's
水
voice.
葉、怪我はない？
少し頭がズキズキするくらい。
おしゃべりはその辺にしてもらおうか。
Hashimoto butted
分かっ
in.
ただろ。可愛い妹は無傷だ。もっともこれからのお前の頑張り次第だがな。
私を指名してきたのは水葉の姉だから。
そう、必死になって理事長を説得してくれるんじゃないかと期待している。
なるほど、なかなか考えたわね。ひとまず理事長をこの場に呼んだ方がいいのかしら。
今すぐにだ。
すぐには無理よ。ここから南区の水葉の自宅まで頑張っても1時間はかかるわ。
I think an hour is a bit of an
それ
exaggeration.
の一大事だぞ。車を飛ばしてこさせろ。
気持ちは私も同じだけれど、昨日今日と結構な雪が降ったでしょ。だからあっちこっちで通行止めになってるみたいなのよ。
クソが。
でもなるべく急いで来るよう掛け合ってみる
30分以内だ。
わ。難しいわ。せめて40分。
I heard Hashimoto click his
分
tongue.
かった。少しでも遅れたら白鳥の顔に傷をつけてやる。
Ugh. Tokita's expression shifted at that outrageous
あり
threat.
がとう。急ぐわ。理事長が到着したらまた連絡すればいいのね。
ああ、番号を言う。
Usami quickly jots the number Hashimoto gives into her
急げ
notepad.
よ。もう一度言うが、俺は本気だ。
The call ends. Tokita folds her arms and groans after hanging up the
ひと
phone.
まず要求を聞くことができた
I guess I can come back.
けど、
But what?
彼は肝も据わっているようだし、頭も切れるわ。
Really? I've never thought of Hashimoto as being a ballsy guy.
学園でも結構寡黙な方だよ。
He keeps saying, don't piss me off, and I'm not playing games. Stupid crap like that. He seems pretty spineless to me. Tokita slowly shook her head.
犯人が本当に臆病な場合はね。例えば銃弾の入っていない拳銃を警察に向けたり、わざと警官に見えるように人質にナイフを突きつけたりするよ。
Hmm.
でも彼はどう？言葉こそ粗暴犯のように振る舞っているけれど、自分の将来、保身を考えて実現可能な範囲の要求を突きつけてきたわ。
Hmm, that's true. Tokita's eyes
ここ
narrowed.
で抗議をするつもりはないけれど、立てこもり犯のタイプにはいくつかあるの。その中で彼は要求が明確で冷静なタイプ。
Hmm. What does the textbook say about dealing with that
時
type?
間をかけて現実を直視した交渉を行うだけよ。犯人側も冷静だから交渉の過程でお互いに譲歩し合うことで大抵決着がつくわ。
Okay. That's kinda abstract.
マニュアルに書いてあることだからね。でもお互いの譲歩はすでにあったでしょ。
Yeah, you offered to retrieve the director in an hour, and he haggled for 30 minutes.
そこで私が40分と言ったところ、彼は受け入れたわ。
I see. If Hashimoto were just another pissed off asshole, he wouldn't have budged. You'd have been stuck with 30 minutes. Eiichi suddenly raised his hand.
とりあえず理事長呼んだ方がよくない？
そうね。その前に栄一くん、初仕事
Oh,
よ。
okay.
コンビニで携帯電話の即席充電器を買ってきてほしいの。
わかった。
We'd be in dipshit if Tokita's phone
本
died.
来なら携帯電話なんて使っちゃいけないんだけれどね。
Eiichi dashed off immediately. Was he worried about Miss Noriko? He didn't screw around like he usually
それ
does.
じゃあ水葉の自宅に電話するわ。
Do you think you'll be able to persuade him to come out here?
大丈夫だと思うわ。あの人も私に引け目もあるし。
Oh, really? Tokita's typical voice grew a touch darker. Asami, do you want to add
い
anything?
え、書き留めるのに精一杯でした。
I look at Asami's notepad. That looks like Lupin the Third. I swear. What the heck? What the hell are you drawing? The paper had nothing but a cartoonish portrait on it.
ですけど
Yeah, I'm right. Hey.
3世ですよ、3世。
Yes. I don't give a shit if it's the 3rd or the 13th. What the fuck are you doing,
す
Usami?
みません。危機的状況に陥ると素数を数えながらルップを書きたくなるんです。
Interesting. They're like censoring it or something. I guess for copyright issues. I don't even know what to say
とい
anymore.
うのは冗談で、一応橋本さんの似顔絵です。
Oh. Well, it does somewhat resemble him.
ええ、自分速記ができるわけじゃないんで、これだけの会話を記録しようと思ったら、絵に頼った方が理解しやすいかなと。
Alright, I getcha, but I tell you what, you're one hell of a backwards chick.
で、記録係の意見ではないんですがね。
What?
ほら、理科準備室の窓、見てくださいよ。
I follow her suggestion.
懐中電灯の明かりがチラチラしてますよね。
What about it?
いえ、ユキの見立てでは橋本さんは冷静だということですが、落ち着きなく室内をうろついているようにも見えませんか？
Yeah, actually, do you think something happened? I casually glanced over at Tokita, who was in the middle of informing the director of the crisis.
状況はお分かりでしょう。
しかし信じられん。
ですから、その目で直接お確かめください。犯人の要求を飲むかどうかは、その後で決めても遅くはありません。
こんなことが世間に知れたら。
落ち着いてください。犯人も警察の介入は避けようとしています。もっとも、あなたがここに来ていただけないことには、最悪の事態が待っていますが。
Tokita's typically gentle tone was nowhere to be seen. The director had apparently abandoned Tokita and her mother, so I would assume she's somewhat bitter about it. If I were on the phone, I'd probably just shout, "Your daughter's life is in danger, get the fuck out here."
お願いします。お父さん。
I couldn't believe my eyes. Tokita spoke with respect to the father she hates with all her being. This woman just threw away her bountiful pride for the sake of saving her sister's life.
わかった。すぐにそっちに向かう。
After his stifled voice cut off, Tokita's phone rang out to inform us that the call had ended.
春、あなたの言うことはもっともだわ。
Tokita returned to her former mood as she spoke.
私も犯人像の特定を急ぎすぎたのかもしれない。もう一度こちらから連絡してみるわ。
Wait, weren't you supposed to wait until the director arrives to make the call?
あの様子では40分以内に来るとは思えないわ。時間を引き延ばす必要もあるのよ。
Alright. I reluctantly nodded. In any case, you did well to convince the director to come out here. My praise only caused Tokita to miserably stare at her feet.
本当は犯人の要求する人間を連れてきてはいけないものなのよ。犯人の本当の目的が、例えば理事長を殺害することだったらどうするの？それでも理事長に来てもらうのはね、責任を取ってもらいたいからよ。
I had no room to criticize
ご
Tokita.
めんなさいね。私だって人間だし、思うところはあるの。
After biding her time for a moment, Tokita called
や
Hashimoto.
けに早いな。
いいニュースよ。理事長が今こちらに向かってる。
それはよかった。で、時間通り来れそうにはないから、もう少し待ってほしいのか？
Okay. Tokita laughed.
あなたに嘘はつけそうにないわね。
なめるなと言っているんだ。
それは十分承知しているわ。ところで、橋本くんは今何をしているの？
何って、お前の妹に睨まれているよ。
水葉は理事長に似てとっても気が小さいの。虚勢を張っているだけだから許してあげてもらえないかしら。
Hashimoto snorts.
そうだな。親のやったことは子供には関係ないからな。俺だってそうさ。親父のせいで部活でも白い目で見られる理不尽な話だとは思わないか？
まったくだわ。ただ、あなたは学園にとってなくてはならない存在でしょ。
おだてるなよ。転入してきたばかりのお前は知らんだろうが、 この学園はスポーツも盛んでな。バスケだけじゃない。ほら、あのアイスアリーナを見ろよ。浅井カノンみたいなのがなくてはならない存在って言うんだよ。
でも私はあなたもすごい選手だと聞いているわ。ポジションはセンター？
当たり前だろ。それがどうした？
私も背が高いでしょ。バスケ部とバレー部からはしつこく勧誘を受けていてね。
お前みたいに筋肉のない女には無理だ。
その通りね。試しに前の学園でちょっと入部してみたの。ピッペンっていう選手がモデルのバスケットシューズも買ったのに1週間で履かなくなったわ。
スコッティ・ピッペンか。ありゃいい選手だった。
シカゴブルズの人だっけ？
昔の選手だがな。巷じゃみんなジョーダンばっかり褒めたたいてたけど、ピッペンがいたからブルズは強かったんだ。
Okay, I see we're tickling his fancy with this conversation, but where is it going?
何事もチームワークは大切よね。
Hashimoto laughed loudly in response.
そうだな。今のは一本取られたな。
どうしたの？
チームワークだよ。確かに俺もお前の協力なくしては目的を達成できない。
さすがね。だったらお互いに歩み寄れるはずよ。
お前らが素直に要求を飲めば全て丸く収まる。明日からはまた何事もなかったように学園が始まる。
そう願っているわ。あなたが怖い人たちにボコボコにされるところなんて見たくないもの。
俺だって妹を殺されて悲しみに暮れる時田を見たくはない。
Like Tokita said, Hashimoto really does have a good head on his shoulders. He's constantly grasping for the lead in his conversation with Tokita.
で、我らが理事長はまだなのか。
残念なことにね。
それは困ったな。あまりもたもたしていると近所の人のいいおばちゃんが警察に通報するかもしれない。そうなったら悲しい結末になる。
承知しているわ。私だって一刻も早く理事長には来てもらいたいと思ってる。だから
She paused for a while, then spoke up
何
decisively.
か欲しいものはある？
怪獣しよってんだな。まあいい。理事長はあっさり解き伏せた手腕は強化しよう。
ありがとう。それでハンバーガーでも食べる？
あいにく腹は空かせてない。ドラマなんかで立てこもり犯がピザと引き換えに人質を解放するところを見るが、実際こうなってみると食欲なんて湧かないもんだ。
Okay.
そう？アメリカでは結構そういう事例もあるけれど。
分かったよ。あまりに空腹になったらお願いするとしよう。でも今はいらない。代わりにお前の初体験の思い出でも聞かせてもらおうか。
What the fuck?
あいにくと私はプライドが高すぎるのか、男性とお付き合いしたことがないの。
本当かね。
He laughs vulgarly. He seems pretty immature when he acts like that.
私を動揺させようとしてわざとそんないやらしいことを言ったのね。
Hashimoto held his
ああ
breath.
そうさ。さすがだな。小細工は通じねえか。
What a sly creature.
一度電話を切るぞ。喋り疲れたんでな。差し入れをくれるってんなら飲み物を用意しとけ。スポーツドリンクがいい。お前の妹も喉が渇いたみたいだぜ。
スポーツドリンクね。それじゃまたね。
The area was bathed in silence once more. The flashlight in the lab equipment storage room just turned off.
ですね。橋本さんも落ち着いてきたんでしょうか。なかなか手こずらせてくれるわね。お疲れゆき。春、飲み物。あ、はい。コーラでいいっすか？
Usami suddenly transformed into Tokita's man Friday.
甘口のコーヒー。ついでに橋本くんご所望のスポーツドリンクも。お金を。あ、待って。コンビニで紙コップも買ってきて。紙コップ？ええ。ペットボトルのドリンクと紙コップを差し入れることで犯人が人質に危害を加える確率が下がるの。
Okay. What do you mean,
聞い
Tokita?
たことない？ストックホルム症候群って。
Sure, the hostages and the captors become friendly with one another at some point or something like
そう
that.
長い緊張状態を共にすることで連帯感が生まれるの。
Okay. Yeah, so in this case, Hashimoto said Shiratori is thirsty. If we give him a drink and a paper cup,
そうよ。橋本くんが水張り飲み物をついであげなくてはならないでしょ。それが犯人と人質の連帯感情を高めるの。
I see. Of course, there's a chance that Hashimoto will just ignore Shiratori and drink it himself. But as long as the cup is sitting there, he'll be forced to be reminded of her. Tokita
ス
nodded.
トックホルミングは多くの場合人質交渉を助けてくれるわ。犯人が人質を大切に思えばそれだけ解放の時間も早まる。
Alright, if you say so.
とりあえずわかりました。ダッシュで行きます。
Tokita handed Usami-san money and ushered her off to the nearest
そ
store.
れで指揮官の京介くん、犯人にスポーツドリンクを与えていいかしら。
Okay. What is the timing with this question? Sure, I can't think of any reason why not.
そう言ってくれると思ったわ。
But have you seriously never had a boyfriend,
あ
Tokita?
ら、私に興味あり？
Is it true?
交渉中は嘘をついてはいけないわ。嘘をついたらそれまで積み上げてきた信頼関係が崩れてしまうもの。
Mutual trust. You gave the same service to Saijo. Is sympathizing with the culprit an important technique?
ネゴシエーターがあくまで強硬な姿勢を貫くと交渉ごとは 20% も合意に達しないの。逆に相手の要求に対して見返りを求めていくような協調体制を確立できれば 80% もの確率で事件が解決するわ。
Is that so? Tokita smiled as if she could tell I was impressed.
私だって FBI の特別な訓練を受けたわけじゃないのよ。でも考えてみてよ。人生って毎日が交渉の連続じゃない？
That sounds exhausting, though. If you want to put it like that. I nod.
朝起きて何時までに帰ってくるよう言われて学園で先生からあれやこれやと質問されて
You don't run into a life or death situation like this often, but I guess I can grant you that each day is a series of choices and negotiations.
あなたなら接待もするんでしょ？
Yeah, food and entertainment tend to lubricate contracts and transactions.
だから誰もが交渉人なのよ。私はたまたま犯罪者に興味を持ってしまったからそっち方面を勉強してただけ。
You're an odd woman, Tokita.
だから恋人もできない。
She derides herself, then sends her sharp gaze to the lab equipment storage room as silence envelops the school grounds.
ただいま。なんか進展あった？
The director got here just a minute ago. He wore flashy clothes but gave off the aura of your average, unreliable, middle-aged buffoon. Tokita explained the situation to him as sweat dripped down from his slicked-back hair onto his forehead and down his face.
校舎を取り囲んでいる連中は
Acquaintances of mine.
おう君は
We met on New Year's, and yes, these are people from my father's organization. The director cradled his head and let out a long sigh. Tokita put a discouraged look before continuing.
要求は合計して555万です。用意できますか？
そんな大金
Neither I nor Tokita missed the sly glimmer in his eye.
どうやら用意できるようですね。
しかしこんな時間だ銀行だって閉まってる
The banks are definitely closed, but no idiot would go straight to the bank from an illegal deal. Where's the
以
money?
前水葉を訪ねてご自宅にお伺いした時金庫があるのを確認しましたが問題は着服した250万に上乗せされた300万ですがそれも大丈夫でしょうか？
In the worst case, I could loan it to him. Ah. PTSD settling in.
わかった。すまなかった。まさかこんな大事になるなんて。
答えになってません。全額今用意できるんですか？
Yuki showed no mercy.
ああ、できるとも。たったの500だろ。
He acts tough with his just 5 mil, but he doesn't seem to comprehend all that he's
ありが
lost.
とうございます。それでは犯人に連絡しますので。
After a few rings, Hashimoto's cheerful voice beams from the telephone.
理事長のご到着か。
ええ、待望のね。お金も用意できるって。
そうかそうか。銀行が閉まってるだのと見えついたことを言われたら娘を傷物にしてやるところだった。
安心して。もうあなたの望みは叶ったも同然よ。
その前に娘は水葉は無事なんだろうな。
The director suddenly butted in.
さっき声を聞かせてやったんだがな。もう一度聞きたいか。今度は悲鳴を上げさせてやってもいい。
Ugh.
やめて。あなたの目的はお金でしょ。水葉を傷つけたって何の意味もないはずよ。
冗談だよ時田。そのくたびれたおっさんを黙らすときな。
Tokita gave the director a short glance. He trembled and kept quiet.
だって金の準備だが。
そうね。今から自宅に現金を取りに帰るから往復で2時間見てもらえれば間違いないわ。
理事長の妻を使って金を届けさせろ。そうすれば1時間で来れるだろう。
What was the point of him first getting here and now having to go back to get the money? So weird.
それが可能かどうか聞いてみてもいい？
そうだな。ついでに飲み物も持ってこい。
いいわ。その代わりと言ってはなんだけれど、のりこ先生を解放してもらえる？
ジュースと人の命じゃ割に合わないが、まあいいだろう。もともとのりこ先生は無関係だからな。
じゃあ今から栄一くんに持って行ってもらうわ。
Eiichi's face was shot with anxiety.
お前が持ってこい、時田。
私が？
俺はお前が気に入った。なぜだかわかるか？
私だって理事長を快く思っていないからでしょ。
Hashimoto laughed and grunted in the affirmative.
つまり俺たちは仲間ってことさ。
At that moment, Usami's pen, which had been taking notes so furiously, inexplicably stopped. Was she really taking notes or doodling?
ご指名ありがとう。
Wait, what was the line again? Ah, my sweet, lovely child. This part, I guess. Tokita was completely
今
calm.
から飲み物を持っていくわ。
Tokita disappeared into the darkness of the school building, holding a plastic bottle in one hand.
か俺未だに実感湧かないんだけど、
I know what you mean.
マジのりこ先生解放してくれんのかね。
Hopefully, though if you ask me, it seems like the negotiations gone pretty well so far. What do you think, Usami?
そうですね、さすがユキです。正直自分なんて何の役にも立ってません。
Yeah, neither have I. She said negotiations should be done as a team, but Tokita is doing all the
い
work.
や本当、ユキは頼りになります。自分の唯一の友達ですから。
She's a little strange too. Is that why you two get along so well?
一度家に泊めてもらいましてね。それ以来主従の関係となりました。朝は起こしてあげて、昼は胸を揉まれ、夜は肩を揉まされました。
You did well to stay friends for so long.
なぜか頭が上がらないんですよ。さすがにとさかに来たぜって思っても、相対して喋ってると、まあいっかってなるんです。
She's applying negotiation techniques all over the place. Bato's ears perked up at that part. Hey, Seku. Well, some people just have that effect on
しか
others.
し、私がお金に困るといつもラーメンをおごってくれました。 誕生日にはペンギンのぬいぐるみももらいましたしいやはや懐かしい遠い日の記憶です。
Don't talk like she's dead.
私はユキの誕生日に世界の拷問という本をプレゼントしました。
Oh, interesting choice. No, 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 dear God, don't give something like that to a woman like her.
すごい喜んでましたね。いやはや懐かしい。
Sami looked up at the school building with distant
浅
eyes.
井君
The director called out to me in a reserved voice. How's it going? Will you be able to get the money here?
ああ妻が今からタクシーを拾ってくるそうだ。
He hung his head and
これ
continued.
で全部丸く収まるのかね。
At the moment, it doesn't look like this affair will end up going public, if that's what you're
だ
asking.
といいんだがね。
He let out a heavy sigh.
まさか娘がこんな目に遭うなんて。こんなことなら。
I could easily predict the rest of his sentence. I would have just given myself up. The director covered his exhausted face with his sweaty palms. Did my own father lament like this while thinking about his son? This is bad. I'm getting dizzy. I'll try not to think about anything. An unsightly father who has finally felt the twinge of a growing conscience stands before me. That's all there is to it.
宗介どうした？お前ってたまにすげえ目つきになるよな。
ですよね。
What?
なんか悩みあるなら人生経験豊富な俺に相談しろよ。
Huh. Not you too,
い
Sami.
え、自分も何かお役に立てるのであれば。
Help out,
なん
huh?
です？
Nothing. Anything. Anyway, it looks like Tokita is back.
本当だ。のりこ先生もいる。
Tokita walks across the schoolyard, Miss Noriko supported on her
ただい
shoulders.
ま。
ユキ、何もされなかったか？
ええ、意外と紳士よ彼は。
Ugh.
先生、怪我はない？
Miss Noriko collapsed on the spot. She was probably too scared to even stand.
ごめんなさい。大体の事情は時田さんから聞いたわ。
Ah, it's okay, Kennedy. No worries. Hi, hi. Yeah, Mondays are extra now. So we can try to finish the novel.
中の様子はどうです？
残念ながら全くわからなかったそうよ。真っ暗な役員室に閉じ込められて恐怖に震えていたみたい。
隣の理科準備室からたまに橋本くんの怒鳴り声が聞こえてね。とても現実とは思えないわ。
大丈夫だよ。僕がついてるよ。
Eiichi suddenly took her hand in his. Tokita, what were things like in the lab storage room?
廊下の窓から覗いたのだけれど、水葉は後ろ手に手錠をかけられていたわ。橋本くんはナイフを片手に飲み物を廊下に置いていくよう指示してきた。私はそれに従って飲み物を残すと、隣の部屋ののりこ先生を助けに行ったわ。
Why did Hashimoto keep Miss Noriko and Shiratori in different rooms?
そうね。二人一緒の方が管理しやすいのに。
Usami kept her gaze on Miss Noriko as she interjected herself.
のりこ先生の分の手錠なりロープなりがなかったからでしょう。
なるほど。橋本くんものりこ先生を人質に取る気はなかったみたいだし、用意がなかったのね。
I guess he was wary of a surprise attack from his unbound hostage during his negotiations with Tokita. The director suddenly became apologetically reverent towards Miss Noriko.
先生、このことは内密にお願いしたいのです。
内密にってこんな犯罪をですか、白鳥理事長。今すぐにでも警察に連絡するべきです。
Quite the natural
犯
opinion.
人は警察に連絡すれば娘を殺すと言っているんです。親としてそんな真似はできません。
Whether that's the truth or he's trying to protect his school, the director was desperately trying to convince Miss Noriko.
まずは人質の命を優先しましょう。犯人は要求さえ満たせれば水葉を解放してくれます。
Miss Noriko hung her head, perplexed. Perhaps she was overpowered by Tokita's confidence.
時田さんが私を救ってくれたのだからわからないわけでもないけれど。
Miss Noriko, I think we should avoid calling the police for now. I don't know what the Sonoyama men I have scattered about would say if the police showed up all of a sudden. The worst case scenario would be a confrontation between the two parties. We'd undoubtedly have more than a simple negotiation on our hands if that came to pass. Tokita smiled. Still, Tokita, before the money gets here, there's something I need to confirm. Are you really going to comply with the terrorist demands and hand over the money? She smiled in challenge. I answered hesitantly. Ensuring Shiratori's safety is our #1 priority. We have no choice but to comply. However, we can't be absolutely certain that he'll release the hostage after he gets the money. Well, and I suppose killing Shiratori wouldn't do him any good. She showed the director a quick glance. Yeah. As I watched Tokita and the director, I hurried my decision. What do you think, Usami? Usami was stroking her chin with the back of her hand, seemingly pondering something. Escape? You think he's going to try to make a break for it? This represents a huge oversight on our part. Yeah, of course not. Yeah, that's what I was thinking earlier as well.
水葉を解放してしまえば、我々も理事長ももう彼の命令を聞く必要がありません。一度奪われた現金も何とかして取り返すでしょ。警察ではなく我々に挑戦してきたのは単に我々の方が組みしやすいと思ったからでしょう。さらに言えば、ユキへの復讐も兼ねているのかもしれませんが、浅井さん、もともと橋本さんは目出し帽をかぶっていましたよね。
Yeah, it completely covered his face. I didn't even realize it was Hashimoto until he spoke.
ということは、橋本さんは変声機でも使い、自分の身元を隠して交渉に乗り出す予定だったのでしょう。しかし、私と浅井さんがいち早く現場に駆けつけたものだから、やむを得ず正体を晒したんです。
You might be right about that.
橋本さんは自分の正体をばらさずに現金を奪うつもりだった。これならば、明日から何食わぬ顔で学園に来るつもりだったとしてもおかしくはありません。
Okay, yeah, alright. Makes sense, I guess. I was convinced, but now that his identity is out, he's finished. He has nothing left to do but run.
問題はこの包囲網の中でどうやって逃げるのかということです。一番考えられるのは、水葉を人質にしたまま用意させた車で逃走するというパターンね。
Usami's expression grows dark and grim for a moment.
どうもおかしいですね。勘ですがね。
I teased her with a cocked smile. Let me guess. You think your Maou is back and he had a hand in this? Usami stared straight into me.
ねえ、ビンビンに。
Oh, hey! Thank you so much for the beats! That's so nice. Thank you, thank you. It's been 3 hours since this whole affair started. Despite having direct orders from one of her superiors, the Sonoyama men are on their last nerves. They can't handle the lethargy much longer, smoking the time away as they sit on the grass. Aw, 3-stream streak. Nice. Oh, that puppy is so cute too. Aww. Cute. I watched as a taxi driver eyed the school suspiciously for a moment, then drove away. Apparently Hashimoto's ransom has arrived.
Hashimoto-kun, omatase.
Tokita immediately resumed the negotiations.
スーツケースに500万入っているわ。
スーツケース？それはまたかさばるものに入れてくれやがったな。
If he is inconvenienced by the bag being conspicuous, then he really must be planning on making a run for it.
ならそれをこっちに持ってきてもらおうか。
分かったわ。また私が持っていけばいいのよね。
ああ、他の連中は信用ならんからな。
じゃあその時に水葉も解放してもらえる
Hashimoto laughed deeply.
慌てるなよ、時田。
Yeah, here we are.
どうしたの？私とあなたの仲じゃない。
そうだな。金をきっちり用意したんだから、俺もお前の役に立ちたいとは思う。しかし白鳥を解放したら、俺はどうやって逃げればいいんだ？
As I thought.
車を用意してもらおうか。ボンボンの浅井にでも頼め。できるだろう。
It's not.
それは聞いてみないとわからないわ。
A car. I guess I could probably get a company car from the Azai Corporation offices.
車は絶対に用意しろ。ここは譲歩できん。時田もわかるだろう。お前が犯人だったらどうだ？
ええ、全く妥当ね。逃げられる算段が整っているのならね。
But as long as he's in this city, he won't be able to escape from the Sonoyama group.
わかったな。まずはケースを持ってこい。車の到着を確認したら、こっちからまた連絡する。
The call ended and Tokita shrugged her shoulders.
というわけだけれど、京介くん。
Alright, I'll prepare a car.
やけに早い決断ね。
He has no idea about the extent to which my father controls this city. Even if he manages to get away in the car, we'll nab him soon enough. It's no different than the situation with Saijo.
わかったわ。私も今からお金を届けに行くわ。
Are we having Mao prepare to get away cars so openly? I don't know. Alright, don't do anything rash like attack Hashimoto or
水
something.
葉に何かあったら、さすがにわからないわ。
Tokita smiled as she walked once more toward the darkness of the school, suitcase in hand.
いよいよ大詰めってやつか。
Ichi muttered as he huddled with Miss Noriko.
椿の時もそうだったけど、凶悪犯罪って結構あるもんなんだな。
Yeah. Yeah, interesting coincidence, right? I casually looked over at Sami. Things have been bizarrely chaotic recently, ever since she moved here. 30 minutes later, Hashimoto's getaway car arrived. A few Sonoyama cars were also on standby just off campus. How are things on the inside, Tokita?
二人で仲良く差し入れのドリンクを飲んだようね。いい兆候とは言えるわ。
Did Hashimoto say anything to
い
you?
え、速やかに出ていくよう言われたわ。
Well, everything's all set now. All that remains is to wait for Hashimoto's
浅
call.
井さん、学園の方位は完璧でしょうか？
What do you mean?
いえ、この学園は外の塀が低いので、校舎から出られると、あとはどうとでも逃げられるのではないかと。
We're covering the first floor windows, the main entrance, the staff entrance. Any possible exit to the building has been practically sealed. Isn't that good enough?
ならいいんですがね。皆さんもお疲れのようですし、ちょっと不安になりました。
And what about you? You must be tired too. Hashimoto's made it pretty clear that he intends to march right out, get in the car, and drive off.
あ、そうでしたね。何を言ってるんすかね、自分は。
She scratched her head in embarrassment. I mean, I think we shouldn't dismiss any, alternative options, because I don't think things are gonna go, they're not gonna be so straightforward. That's my gut feeling. No, sorry. What about you, Tokita? How are you holding up? I mean, you of all people must be tired as hell.
嬉しいわね。じゃあ、肩でも揉んでちょうだい。
You've got enough energy to crack jokes, so I'm sure you'll be fine. Still, she's a little quiet. She must be worn out from the long negotiations. She'll be able to rest soon, though. The upcoming chase scene will be left to my expertise.
京介くんって、特定の女の子いるの？
Oh, what a question. What's this about? Tokita laughs.
これもストックホルミングかしらね。 長い間チームを組んでたものだから、あなたと妙な連帯感を覚えているの。
Oh, girl, you're so much better off not feeling any of that. I know what you mean, but I'll pass. That kind of joke is unlike Tokita.
浅井さんには自分がいますもんね。
Kill yourself. Oh god.
あらあら。あうんの呼吸とはこのことね。
Tokita smirked with her arms
それに
crossed.
しても連絡がないですね。
Yeah, he should be able to see the car from up here. Sorry, from up there. Heck, he should even be able to hear it.
もう少し待ってみましょう。何かあったのかも。
Yeah, that was supposed to be, I guess, friendly banter. Don't take it too seriously. If we get antsy and jump the gun, it might tick him off.
でも待つにしても限度があるでしょ。
Alright, we'll wait 10 more minutes. Yet, 10 minutes later, there had still been no contact from Hashimoto.
つながらないわ。
Yeah, indeed. I guess they're kind of on a level of it's complicated. Tokita tried calling twice, but in
ど
vain.
うします？
This is upsetting. What happened? Tokita, what's your take on the
正
situation?
直予測がつかないわ。
Did he suddenly change his
そ
mind?
れはないと断言したいわね。これまでの交渉過程で私は私の持てる力を全て出し切ったわ。
Then why isn't he calling us? We've met each and every one of his demands. Tokita pierced me with her stern eyes. Oh, I'm sorry, there's no way you'd know that. But the question remains, what do we do now?
様子を見に行くしかないでしょうね。
Yeah, I think that's the best option. Which of us will go, though?
俺が行こうか。
Oh, interesting, Eiichi. An unlikely volunteer raised his unexpected hand.
なんつうか、さすがに俺も一発くらい橋本をぶん殴ってやらねえと気が済まねえっつうか。
Okay. No one's going to knock him a good one, Eiichi. Shiratori's life is on the line here.
でもさ、
Then Tokita stepped
いい
in.
わ。私と栄一君で行きましょう。
ユ
Okay.
キが？
I guess it would be justified to send someone who's on good terms with Hashimoto, seeing as how you'd be less likely to agitate him.
京介君はここで全体の指揮があるでしょ
Sure.
春は京介君を補佐してあげて。今までずっとそうだったんでしょ。
まあ。
Tell me about it. I keep getting caught up in Usami's trouble for some reason.
何かあったら助けてちょうだい。
Is it really her trouble, though? Is it?
僕が守ってあげるよ。
心強いわね。
Tokita must have realized that Eiichi's presence may cause Hashimoto to drop his guard. Eiichi's reputation for idiocy will have preceded him after. Oh, that's so mean. The one moment in the novel when he's actually like doing something, you know, courageous, I guess. Everyone's like, yeah, this is a good idea. You're an idiot, so he's gonna drop his guard. Let's go with it. In any case, he'll be less threatening to Hashimoto than Usami or me. That is true.
それじゃあ行くわよ。栄一君。
Looking somewhat nervous, the two disappeared into the school building. What happened up there?
最悪の場合、水葉がもう殺されているかもしれません。
I thought of that too. They could have gotten into a scuffle and killed each other. It would certainly explain his missing phone call at least.
ユキはそれを覚悟の上で校舎に入っていったんでしょうね。
She's brave, that friend of yours.
かっこいいんですよ。本当にかっこよすぎるくらい。
Yeah, that's an apt description for her, yeah. And immediately after Usami finished her sentence, the phone rang with a clamor. Of course, it wasn't Tokita's phone. It was mine. What's going on? What's wrong, Tokita?
知られないわ。
Tokita's typical calm voice was shaking. What happened?
落ち着いて聞いて。
He escaped? Alright. Yeah, he's not there. What? Tokita steadied her breathing, settled herself, and said, Yeah. That's not possible. Then Tokita yelled. Closed room. Room or school? Because, like, they were all on the outside. We don't know what happened inside. After hearing Tokita's report, Usami and I headed straight for the lab storage room. I know. Yeah, Tokita just panicked out of worry for her sister. We ran down the corridor and threw open the door to the lab equipment storage room. And it truly was empty. Don't be. It came as a shock to me as well. Yeah, like I did have this like gut feeling that it was all like a little bit too straightforward, and I wasn't trusting him to follow up on it. Okay. Ichi paces up and down the room, unable to keep his cool. I give the room a quick search. The plastic bottle Hashimoto supposedly drank from and a single paper cup lay on top of the desk. The flashlight Hashimoto apparently used lay alongside them. The black handcuffs that robbed Mizuha of her freedom were lying plain as day across the linoleum floor. Tokita bit her lip in regret. Did her despair get the best of her? She couldn't bring herself to say those next few words. Mean what, Tokita? Tokita seemed to reinforce her failing spirit. That's ridiculous. He's still in the building. I shouted. The Sonoyama men outside heeded my call. I need to have them perform a thorough search of the school. The exits were completely sealed. There's no way he could have made it beyond these walls. An escape route? Or just like a window or something, right? Because if you were looking only at the doors... This isn't the time for joke. A chill suddenly dashed up my spine. Wait. My face must be twisted beyond belief right now. Now that I think about it, wasn't this school being expanded? Of course, that was the spark that kindled this whole fiasco. Are the renovations done yet? What have they been working on? That hallway has windows, doesn't it? Ichi nodded. Damn it! I'm so sorry, this was entirely my fault. Hashimoto must have asked Shiratori about the secret exit. Well, all we can do is give chase now. I reached for the door. Leave the rest to me. Go home, everyone. He got away on foot sometime around 30 minutes ago. If we comb through the area closely, we should be able to catch him. I left Ichi behind as his fleet footsteps echoed through the dark corridor. Okay, time for me to hide. Bearing an anguished expression, Tokita Yuki searched the darkness just beyond the window of the lab equipment storage room. She sighs to the girl behind her. Haru responds with a sigh of her own. Haru's intellect shined through in her immediate response. Yuki shook her head.
普通はネゴシエーターもそれを助長させるように働きかけるの。
I wouldn't dismiss Mizuha's intelligence so easily, though. Maybe she also has some sort of plan in, like, making it look like she's playing along. You know?
でも今回は違った。言い訳をするようだけれど、普通はこんな短時間でストックホルム症候群なんて発生しないわ。過去の事例を見ても、100時間とか半年とか、そういった長い時間をかけられるのが通例なの。
通例は通例だったと？
水葉も父親の理事長を快く思っていなかったわ。つまり同じ事情を抱える橋本くんに同調しやすいと言える。私はそれを見誤っていたのよ。
The girl standing behind her had no consolation for Yuki.
人の心にマニュアルなんて当てはまらないってことね。
Yuki sighed once more.
まだまだ訓練が必要だわ。
I don't remember any of this, which is why I'm shooting an idea that Mizuha might have been the mastermind. Interesting. I think it was hinted last time that Maou had counseled Hashimoto about something. But yeah, I wouldn't dismiss that either. I don't know. This doesn't sit well with me to say that, oh, she just like bonded with her captor so easily and then decided to help him because she also dislikes her father. Like, I don't, that doesn't sound right. I don't think so. It makes more sense than her going to Stockholm in a few hours. Yeah. Yeah, I also don't think that's what the situation is. The very next instant, Haru's voice pierces her back. Maybe she's a Lupin fan. Oh, hey, Fury. Hi, how are you?
いや、ここまでは全て計算づくだったはずだ。
Yuki's body freezes.
そうだろう、ユキ。
Okay. Bunch of the real answers. Oh, it's going alright. It's okay. Yeah, just extending the stream schedule a little bit, try to finish this novel in the next weeks. That's right, Haru. Yuki mocks somewhere within herself. That mockery quickly showed itself on her visage. What? If only you weren't here. Okay. Okay, I don't know what that means. I guess we'll see. I hear my lovely child is having a bit of fun tonight. I wonder how that's going. Well, while I found her plan... Oh, so the child was Yuki, not Hashimoto. Okay. Mid-girl is showing her mid-colors? Ugh, goddamn. Alright. While I found her plan to be quite a humorous parlor trick, I seriously doubt it will work on Usami. Accomplices can really foul things up. Should I have given her that advice? It shouldn't matter. Children grow whether or not their parents are there to help them along. Voice acting. Thank you. Even if it was just for a bit, or just for a moment.
どうしたの、ハル?
Yuki directed a faint smile at the girl behind her.
まるで私が真犯人みたいな言い方じゃない？
事実、真犯人だ。
Haru pronounced sternly.
最初から全てユキが仕組んでいたことだ。
どうしたの、ハル？私たちは親友でしょ？
Yuki put on innocent airs, but her heart knew better. No slight could blind Haru to her best friend's strange behavior.
ハル、落ち着いてよ。 橋本くんは水葉を連れて拡張工事のあった廊下の窓から逃げたんじゃないの？
違う。
じゃあどうやってこの部屋から消えたっていうの？
普通に1階のどこからでも逃げられたと思う。
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That I mean, at the ground floor, you could just like open any window and run, right?
それはおかしいでしょう。京介くんのお仲間さんたちが学園を取り囲んでいたのよ。
Yeah, but they were focused on exits specifically.
だから取り囲む前に逃げたんだ。
Oh, okay. Yuki all but resigned. Nevertheless, she wanted to amuse herself with the conversation.
橋本さんは職員室に忍び込み、のりこ先生を襲った。そこに駆けつけた我々を校舎の外に出すと、のりこ先生を理科準備室の隣の薬品室に閉じ込めた。
Yeah, and then it was Yuki who went to give them the drinks and then the money, right? Okay. Anyway.
私が学園に到着する前の出来事ね。続けて。
その後橋本さんは理科準備室に立てこもるわけでもなく、さっさと逃げてしまう。
ちょっと待ってよ。橋本くんはここにいなかったっていうの？
そうだ。さも私たちを見下ろしながら交渉をしているように見せかけて、実際は別の場所で電話を受けていた。
別の場所ね。
Yuki shrugged in false
じゃあ
surprise.
この部屋で懐中電灯がちらついていたのはどういうこと？
懐中電灯は橋本さんが学園を出る前にこの部屋に残していったんだ。
でもあなたも見たわよね。
Probably the
ライ
batteries
トが
went
点
out.
滅してたじゃない？
いろいろ方法はあると思うが、最も簡単なのはあらかじめ残量の極端に少ない電池を入れておくことだ。そうすれば懐中電灯はついたり消えたりを繰り返してやがて消える。
Yeah. Correct.
はじめはこの部屋のカーテンが閉まっていなかったから不自然だとは思ったんだ。
カーテンね。
普通立てこもりをするならカーテンは閉めるだろう。外から室内の様子を探られるかもしれないし。
そうね。ちょっと不自然ね。でもそれだけで疑われるものなのかしら？
Haru continued in a deep voice.
ユキが到着してカーテンの閉まっていない窓に向かって手を振っただろう。
ええ。反応が鈍かったわね。
鈍いはずだ。窓の向こうに橋本さんはいないんだもの。おそらくあらかじめ決まった時間に電話をよこすよう指示していたんだろう。
That was a failure on Yuki's part. If only Haru hadn't suggested she wave at the window.
どうしても私と橋本くんが共犯ってことにしたいみたいだけれど。
残念だけど。
のりこ先生はどうなの？あなたは記録係だからちゃんと覚えているでしょ？
うん。隣の部屋から橋本くんの怒鳴り声がしたと解放された先生は証言した。
じゃあそれはどう説明するの？
Haru didn't
かけて
falter.
もいい。今ユキのポケットに小型の IC レコーダーがとにかく録音した声を発することのできる機器がある。
Yuki found this amusing. Haru called it spot on. She did indeed have an IC recorder with Hashimoto's voice samples saved on it. He had left it here before taking his leave.
でもそんな録音した声くらいで隣に人がいるって先生に錯覚させられるかしら？
I mean, given her state of mind and how panicked she was because she didn't understand what was happening, yeah.
だから解放された先生にユキはあまり質問をしなかった。
Goodness gracious, Haru is so incredibly fun. She'd trust everything that Yuki had recognized as suspicious into her face.
あれはおかしかった。中の様子を知る唯一の人物をなぜ聞き上手のユキが放っておいたのか。
たまたまよ。疲れていたのかも。
録音した声は一言二言なんだろう。それなら恐怖に震える先生を騙すこともできそうだ。
Yuki felt like throwing in the
わ
towel.
かったわ。それで 身体検査を始めようっていうの？
別にやらなくてもまだ証拠はある。
Oh,
ぜ
okay.
ひ聞きたいわ。
この紙コップだ。
差し入れた紙コップ？それがどうしたの？
It's dry? I don't know.
ペットボトルの中身はなくなっていて、紙コップも少し増
Ah,
えて
it's wet. Okay.
橋本くんがドリンクを紙コップに注いで水葉が飲んだってことにならない？
でも口をつけた跡がない。
Very good,
ド
Haru.
リンクはすべて流しに捨てたんだろ。
That's why Yuki chose the lab equipment storage
こ
room.
れはユキと橋本さんが共犯でなければ成り立たない手口だ。そうでなければドリンクを差し入れしたりケースを届けに行ったユキが中の様子を偽る意味もわからない。
Yuki decided it was time to surrender.
さすがね、ハル。
Haru's gaze assaulted Yuki's
認めるん
senses.
だな。
やっぱりあなたを記録係にしたのが間違いだった。
だからチームでやろうって言った時渋っていたんだな。
Yuki nodded to the girl behind her. That moment saw her defeat decided.
お約束だから聞くけど、最初に怪しいと思ったのは？
ユキ、
教えてよ。怖い声出さないで。
Haru answered, heavy with
バス
sadness.
ケットボールの話をしていた時
やっぱりね。
橋本さんがこう言ったんだ。ほらあのアイスアリーナを見ろよって。
Okay, yeah, I remember him saying that. Is it like... I assumed it was in the vicinity, but then maybe it isn't.
あの時は背筋が凍ったわ。
そこの窓からアイスアリーナなんて見えないはずなんだ。
Mm-hmm. Yuki had been standing near that window in order to... what? Steam me Haru from that realization, but it had been in vain. Okay, what a word. Okay. At first glance, it may seem like Hashimoto was Yuki's downfall. However, Yuki had some responsibility in this failure as well. He was originally simply a young man, someone whose extremes merely amounted to chalk on blackboards. Petty was perhaps the most fitting word. To make such a person out to be a calm, motivated hostage-taker with a goal was quite difficult. Then he showed his true colors by asking about her sex life. Sorry. When he showed his true colors by asking about her sex life, she felt the pressing desire to hit him.
今
Yeah.
水葉はアイスアリーナの見える場所にいるんだな。
そう、橋本くんと一緒にね。あらかじめ私が睡眠薬を飲ませて運んだのよ。
Oh my gosh.
なんてことを。
だってあれだけくだらない父親にまだ義理立てしてるのよ。信じられる？どこ
Oh
まで人がいいのかしら。
my gosh.
本当は水葉も犯行に誘う予定だったんだな。
残念なことに交渉決裂よ。ある有名なネゴシエーターも家族だけは説得できないって言ってたわね。
After declaring so, Yuki turned around and returned Haru's sharpened glare.
ユキ、お金はまだこの部屋にあるんだろ？隣の部屋か。
それを返したら全部許してもらえるのかし
Of
ら。
course not. Haru let silence speak for her. Her pained expression wounded Yuki's heart. Nevertheless, Yuki calmly
許
continued.
さないわよね。あなたは正義の勇者様だもの。
Haru shook her
動
head.
機はやっぱり理事長への復讐か。
大したことじゃないでしょ。不正に受け取ったお金なのよ。
不正に受け取ったお金を不正に泥棒していいのか？
警察もついに理事長を逮捕できなかったのよ。だったら誰が悪を懲らしめてあげられるの？
私はそれがユキでないことを願っていた。
甘いわね、ハル。善人はバカを見る時代なのよ。
私は時代に生きているわけじゃない。私はあくまで私の考えに基づいて生きている。
The words of Maou from the mouth of the hero. Such is to be expected.
そこをどいてよ、ハル。
Yuki jerked her chin to sign Haru away from the
どこへ
door.
逃げようというんだ。
そうね。京介くんを敵に回したらこの町では暮らせそうにないわね。
ユキ、聞いてよ。
Haru said as she placed herself in Yuki's path, arms wide open.
聡明なユキのことだからやむを得ない事情があったのだと思う。でもユキは間違ってる。
ありがとう、ハル。いろんな人に迷惑をかけたことは心苦しく思っているわ。特にのりこ先生には本当に悪いことをした。京介くんたちは今頃必死になって犯人を追っているでしょう。
だったら
Yuki interrupted Haru's
もう
protest.
遅いわ。私はとっくに悪魔に魂を売ったのだから。
Alright then. Haru's eyes gorged in despair. In that same instant, Yuki shoved her with both hands. Haru shrieks. She staggers. She loses her balance. Her feet slip and her hair glides through the air. Leaving Haru where she lay on the floor, Yuki dashes out into the corridor, immediately swerving around to close the door of the lab equipment storage room. The midest declaration ever. She jams the key into the lock and twists it violently. It's all or nothing.
Yuki!
The door creaks. Haru beats at the door, shouting, cursing her own powerlessness. Luckily, the key had broken off in the lock, jamming it. Oh, damn. Yuki flashes the everyday smile of her past, just self.
交渉においてどうなったら負けよ。
That's right. Yuki was now past the point of no return. Without so much as a backwards glance, Yuki dashed into the deep darkness of the school corridor. Oh no! Ouch, that was probably not fun. What did you do about it in the end? Haru's grieving voice would forever linger in her ears. I mean, I guess instead of a weak key, I would say that's a powerful Zeku, but I don't know if it's a thing that you want to be good at, breaking keys in locks. It was not in my apartment for... Okay, that's good, that's good. Alright. Yeah, since the scene changed, give me a moment, I'll make a quick run to the bathroom and I'll be right back. Okay, here I am. Let's see, what did I miss? So it got stuck and I used too much force trying to get it out, but not by bare hands. I used pliers. Oh, okay, I see. It was a break-in situation. Can't be a break-in when it happened when I tried to close the door. Oh no. Oh. Breakout. Key break situation. Alright. Heartbreaking. Oh. I'm sorry, Zekun. But like, did the key just break? Like, let me think. Is there a piece of the key still stuck in there? How do you get it out? That's the question. It was the first time I used the key duplicate. Ah, okay, maybe it was not a very good duplicate and if it got stuck. After receiving a call from Usami, I head for the lab storage room one more time. Yeah, I see, Zuko. Usami briefed me on the situation. The music is so sad. It's betrayal music. Tokita had apparently masterminded this operation and has now escaped somewhere. Though betrayed by her best friend, Usami managed to stay composed. Yeah.
あの状況で逃げるということは、ユキにはまだやり残したことがあるということです。
I hope not. I don't. Usami's face tenses again. It's already 2 a.m. The director has gone home for now to rethink the situation, and Eiichi ended up deciding to escort Miss Noriko home. That leaves no one but Usami and I, and a handful of bored Yakuza. Alright, let's pull out all the stops and track down Tokita. A tall, beautiful girl walking around in a uniform at this hour shouldn't be too hard for the Sonoyama guys. You should be. If I keep on using men for matters that are none of the Sonoyama group's business, they'll have me cutting my fingers off in apology before too long. Oh, Zeku. Usami laughed feebly. Pardon? Oh please, not Maou again.
私の考えすぎですかね。そうですよね。ユキが魔王とつながってただなんて、そんなはずないですよね。
I couldn't say anything.
ユキのお父さんは時田明宏さんと言いまして、そりゃ立派な方なんですよ。警察の警視正っていうものすごく偉い人なんですよ。だからユキもそんなお父さんの恩をあだで返すような真似はしないはずなんです。そうです。そりゃ白鳥理事長には恨みもあるでしょう。でも脅迫して復讐するなんておかしいじゃないですか。ユキは時田警視正の下で立派に育ったんです。今のお父さんでよかったと自慢げに言っていたこともあります。
Usami seemed unable to hold back her frantic emotions.
こんなネクラなことしなくてもいいじゃないですか。なんでまたこんな。ユキならもっと考えて、そう、もっとうまく理事長を見返してやれるはずなんです。
Her voice gradually fell out as she trembled and her hands began to shake.
おかしいですよ。あれはユキじゃない。
Usami is looking for a source of evil. She simply can't accept the fact that the Tokita she knew could undergo such a metamorphosis without some dark catalyst. Then again, the belief in evil is sometimes one's only hope of salvation. Usami. Was it on a whim that I rested my hands on Usami's shoulders? She didn't shake me off. Instead, she silently accepted my kindness. Though she's usually so annoying, so downright disgusting. Oh, God. The Usami I lent my support to seemed small enough to fit in my hand. After a brief intermission, time continued its course. The night wore on as the frigid, unforgiving wind beat endlessly against the window. Yes, your remote game is top notch, Kanity. Love it. Oh, back to this, okay. Stealing through streets and alleys bathed by neon lights, Tokita Yuki brainstormed for a new countermeasure. If everything had gone according to plan, she'd be heading for the cheap apartment where Hashimoto and Mizuha awaited her, a large amount of money in hand. Yet, will her bad luck ever cease? She's near the apartment, but Hashimoto isn't answering her calls. Was there some accident? In any case, entering the apartment would have been dangerous. Yuki slipped into the darkness, sliding up against the walls of nearby buildings. Her school uniform was simply too conspicuous. Should I rely on the Maou? Now that Yuki understood how easy it was to incite the wrath of one of the city's most powerful organizations, she began to realize the true extent of the meticulous nature she had once sensed in Maou. The man has been able to avoid the omnipresent threat of the Sonoyama group for months now, despite moving freely about the city. Surely that means Maou would be able to guarantee her safety. Only, I'm not the Mao's henchman. Maou had merely advised her a bit concerning this plan. He had also supplied the drugs to ensure Mizuha slept through her transportation to the apartment. Ugh, that part. Ugh, I hate that so much. Now that she objectively evaluates the situation, she may indeed have been possessed by the devil. It all began 2 years ago. Oh, okay. With a single email. The sender identified himself as Maou. He had quite thoroughly investigated Yuki for being no more than a common stalker. He knew that she was an illegitimate child, and that her mother had passed away. A Maou who had put forth an investigation into her past that would spark envy in even the best private detective, had begun to entice Yuki. After a few electronic exchanges, Yuki left her hometown alone for Tomanbetsu City, running to meet this most intriguing Maou. The club was deep in the depths of Central Boulevard. After introducing herself at the entrance, she was ushered into a VIP room. It bore the look of a high roller's lounge in an upscale casino. No light poured from the ceiling. Her only option in the dim room was to rely on the indirect light at her feet. Nevertheless, the most defining point was the mask on each and every one of the employees' and guests' faces. Among them were narrow eye masks, the kind you would expect to be worn by sexual deviants, often accompanied by decadent ornate satin hoods. Some of the group even sported a pair of red horns, along with the likeness of other such horrors, only imaginable in medieval European paintings. I have a really hard time picturing this, and to be honest, I'm grateful. I don't want to picture it. I'm fine. Oh, Bea. Bea, you're so sweet.
はじめまして、時田由紀。私が魔王だ。わざわざ田舎から飛行機で来てもらってすまなかったな。
This Maou was no exception. He wore a white masquerade mask reminiscent of the Phantom of the Opera. Yuki tried to ignore the oddity and bowed in greeting.
お招きありがとう。随分と素敵な場所ね。
気に入ってもらえたかな？ここではどんな地位の人間も子供になって遊ぶことができる。
I see. The coquettish voices of both women and men echoed from the dark corners of the room. They were accompanied by the sounds of alcohol sliding down throats, of shouts demanding service from nearby women. The guests endlessly entertained themselves with such vulgar acts.
それで、私に何の用？つまらない用事だったら警察に駆け込ませてもらうけれど。
Alright. A deep laugh split from behind the mask.
あちらにいらっしゃる御人がわかるか？
Mao gestured with his chin and Yuki's eyes followed. A plump, middle-aged man sat there, slumped on the sofa wearing nothing but an oversized diaper on the lower half of his body. Hey? Standing beside him was a woman in an apron shaking a toy at him, as if soothing her upset infant. Oh god. The scene's inhuman, bizarre nature caused Yuki to reflexively avert her eyes.
あちらは警視庁の猿天井人だ。夜は素敵なプレイに興じられているようだが、朝になれば正義の警察官として私のような犯罪者を追い詰める。面白いだろう。
Yuki calmed her breath in an attempt to regain her composure. Despite her efforts, the otherworldly aura of the room negated any sense of order within her. Maou had not even laid a finger on the mountain of money before him.
警察や暴力団への根回しなしで、こんな店が日本で営業できるはずがないだろう。お父上に恥をかかせるような真似はよすんだ。
よく知っているわね。私の父が警察官だって。
まあ、だからこそお前に声をかけた。
Okay. Yuki finally regained her composure and attempted to scrutinize the Mao's gestures and tone of voice. Her possible routes to reading this man were limited as long as his face was hidden from her.
聞けば、時田は長年犯罪心理学を勉強しているとか？
探偵でも雇ったのかしら？
Mao nodded, something like that.
保護観察所に演者を装って何度も通ったそうじゃないか。なかなか楽しい子供だったようだな。
ありがとう。おかげで変な目で見られたけれど、今では友達もたくさんできたわ。
With a slight smile, Yuki examined Mao. He'd recrossed his legs twice since she entered the room. His hands fidgeted in tune with the conversation, opening and shutting as he makes his comments. He was an archetypal diplomatic type. That was the conclusion of Yuki's evaluation. People who fall under this category make judgments through the use of logic and reason. Sorry. Yuki engraves each and every one of his fingers' subtle motions, their expressions, into her memory. He seems to be quite the careful man. Whether that care was manifested as a result of prudence or paranoia, okay, was yet to be seen.
いろんな犯罪者と会ってどう思った？
どうもこうもみんないい人ばかりだったわ。私とよく遊んでくれたもの。
彼らも寂しかったんだろう。娘ができた気持ちだったのでは？
そうね。
Yuki made sure to keep the conversation going without letting her guard slip. Mao had kept the command of the conversation from the beginning. The man before her, without saying a word about himself, had been trying to invade Yuki's heart.
ところで、あなたはどうして魔王なの？
悪の権下として分かりやすくていいだろう。そういう時だわ。なぜカタカナでユキという名前なんだ？
He's good. He smoothly evades the question and follows up with the question of his own. Judging by his mastery over conversation, he was likely a businessman of some kind.
名前の由来は私も知らないわ。お役所に届けるときにうっかりしちゃったんじゃない？
Yuki decided to switch strategies. It's futile to barrage the diplomatic businessman type with questions. This type likes to talk. One should build trust with these people by honestly answering the questions they pose. Only after this trust has been solidified will they begin to speak about themselves. Mao recrossed his legs again.
かわいそうだな。子供は自分の名前を選ぶことができない。実の父を恨んだことは？
それは何度も。
母の葬儀にも来なかったそうじゃないか。
ええ。あの夜はどうやって思い知らせてやろうかと、それだけを考えていたわ。
それを今、実行に移そうとは思わないか？
Yuki laughed as if she understood.
クロージングをかけるには 早すぎると思わない？
Mao laughed along.
これは失礼。時田に復讐を実行させることが私の目的ではないのだが、そう聞こえたのならすまなかった。
He spread open his arms as if to embrace his own joke, and then recrossed his legs. Yuki pondered this gesture as she smiled with the Mao. She came to the realization that he recrosses his legs just before redirecting the conversation. Does this reaction mean something? Recrossing one's legs is often used as a way of relieving tension. In short, it could mean he's lying.
じゃあ、本当の目的をそろそろ教えてもらえる？
時田と遊びたかった。それじゃダメか？
こんな場所で遊ぶ趣味はないわ。
わかった。本当のことを言おう。目の前に何がある？
お金ね。何億あるのかしら。
実はあることをしてもらいたいんだ。報酬は弾む。
聞くだけ聞いてみましょう。
簡単なことだ。
Mao said as he recrossed his legs. Oof.
銀行口座を一つ作ってほしい。そしていずこかから振り込まれた金を私に渡してくれ。受け渡しはこの部屋だ。
Okay, he went through all this trouble just for this. Yuki rejected the request with strength and confidence.
嘘はやめて。
Mao seemed to be at a loss for
銀
words.
行口座？なぜ私なの？
Yeah, exactly.
あなたは私の家庭環境から能力まで細かく調べて、結局はそんな誰にでもできるような仕事を任せようっていうの？
何事も信頼関係というものがある。まずは小さな仕事からお願いしたいと思っても不思議はないだろう。
いいえ。あなたは嘘をついているわ。
She stared at Mao's legs with a sharp look. One of his long, fidgety legs was about to be placed on the other. Mao nodded and said, utterly composed.
面白いな。
Mao's hands and legs stopped moving. A question, asked almost in humor, escaped his lips.
そうやって人の心を探らねば不安か？
As he spoke, he put his fingertips together and sank deeply into the sofa. Yuki, astonished, felt a panic rise inside of her. Mao's entire persona had changed from just a moment ago. Putting one's fingertips together denotes a feeling of grandeur and dignity. The man before her was aware of this fact and was consciously acting in that manner.
ちょこまかと手足を動かしていたのはわざとね。
どうかな？
Now he had resorted to playing with the fringe which jutted from the side of his mask. That would typically be read as a sign of anxiety or a lack of confidence, but there was no conceivable reason for Mao to be anxious.
なんなのよ。
An irritated tone slipped from her tongue. Mao seemed to perceive that as an opening, and quickly leaned forward, close enough to violate Yuki's personal space. Just as she realized she had gotten in over her head, Mao's powerful voice pressed her.
私の仲間になれ。時田由紀。
The end of his sentence struck home.
そうすれば、その類まれな好奇心を満たしてやろう。ごまかすな時田。罪を感じているのだろう。
Even his mask seemed to smirk.
現に、お前がこれまで会ってきた犯罪者は模範囚の善人ばかりではないか。
だったら何なの？
Yuki felt that she would have been overwhelmed by his force if she had not at least feigned defiance.
そうよ。私が見てきたのは、刑期も半ばで仮出所してきた人たちがほとんど。根がいい人なのは当たり前。でもそれが何か悪いの？
They were awarded parole after serving only half their sentence. Okay. I see. The powerful feelings Yuki held leaked into her words. The pressure in that long quarantine zone of her heart squeezed them out into the open air. Of course there was something wrong. It was a sin to treat people who had been repenting for so long who had been forgiven by the society they offended as mere objects of study or curiosity. However, the torment Yuki felt because of her guilt had always been washed away by the whisperings of her inner demons. She was only a child, after all, not to mention her complicated background, which had destroyed her ability to trust other human beings. The opening in her heart was not lost on the king of these demons, Maou.
何も悪くない。何も悪くはないが、もったいないとは思う。
もったいない？
世の中にはもっとおかしな人間がいる。欲望に歯止めの効かなくなった真の凶悪犯や、嘘を真実と信じたまま話すことができる社会病質者。目的のためなら手段を選ばぬテロリスト。
Yeah. Jun Fukuyama does a great job at voicing this kind of characters. He's awesome. Yuki's heart began to race against her will.
時田はいずれ父に倣って警察官を志すのだろう。ネゴシエーターの必要性は近年になって日本でもようやく認められてきた。お前はその卵だ。今から実地訓練をしておいて損はなかろう。
つまり何なの？
The more Yuki spoke, the less she was able to contain
あな
herself.
たのお仲間になれば、今まで私が見たこともないような変人を紹介してくれるっていうの？
The mask nodded deeply.
いくらでも。
Okay.
そんな嘘でしょ？
She doesn't have one though. I guess this is what we get of hers.
嘘かどうか確かめたくはないか？
Yuki hesitated once more. As she sat speechless, Mao
これ
said,
からここである外国人と会うことになっているのだが、一緒にどうだ？
外国人？
ああ、鼻毛を切らない習慣があるが気のいい男だ。
What the fuck?
でも犯罪者なのでしょ？
ただの商人さ。
あなたは犯罪者って名乗ったわよね。犯罪の密談を警察官の娘が黙って見過ごすと思う？
そう構えるな。酒を酌み交わすだけだ。そしてこの金の一部を渡す。
皇帝でも買ったの？
余裕が出てきたな。乗り気になってきたと思っていいのかな？
Mao sank into the sofa again. Yuki's heart began to sound the alarm. Her curiosity became unmanageable and began to claw at the walls of its quarantine.
お前は何も知らなくていい。
Mao kindly said,
私が何者で、どんな商売をしていて、何を企んでいるのか。犯罪につながるようなことを一切知らずに、ただ貴重な体験ができる。
However, associating with Mao would nonetheless be approving of crime. That is a line she must not cross.
どうかな。悪い話ではないと思うが。
Yuki was perplexed. Or rather, she was feigning
訪
perplexion.
問販売なんかでは玄関のドアを開けさせたらもう勝ったも同然らしいわね。
押し売りをする気はないがな。
Her fate may have been decided as soon as she met Mao. From the very onset, she had been successfully coerced into deceiving her father by coming here without telling him. She hadn't actually lied, but she had certainly been less than forthcoming. It's no wonder that she'll continue to do
そ
so.
れで魔王？
She couldn't go on without asking the most critical question.
親切に私の好奇心を満たしてくれるのはいいけれど、見返りに何を求めてるの？私の父に関わるようなことだったらお断りよ。
She mustn't cause her father trouble. This Mao is a criminal. As such, he may desire to blackmail or somehow manipulate her father, a powerful figure in the police system. Yuki steeled her courage as she gazed into the evil mask's eyes. And Mao, from the other side of the mask, responded in the slow manner of a parent speaking to an infant.
特に見返りを求めているわけではないが、強いて言えば。
Mao put his hands to the mask.
魂かな。
Hey? His tone held no hint of cajolery. The contract was signed. Now that he had shown his true face, there would be no escape from this Mao. After that day, about once a month, Yuki would secretly meet with Mao. He typically introduced her to his acquaintances in Tomanbetsu City, but oddly enough, his meetings also often took her to the coast of the Sea of Japan, Fukui, and a small village in Niigata. Yuki was able to meet a great many people during these rendezvous. Chechens, who rules the Moscow black market. Extremist Muslim jihadists, okay. Mao often received briefcases from fishermen at the wharf, but he never explained what they held. Yuki never intended to ask. Most of the Japanese people she met were youngsters. They were each the child of a politician, or of the owner of a large corporation, or of some other powerful person. And they were each children who, for some reason or another, had become unable to live their lives without running away from something. Each and every one of them carried a sickness in their heart. To Yuki, these meetings were exceptional in a way. Speaking to a criminally minded child outside the bounds of a youth detention center is a rare opportunity. Yuki had the opportunity to meet an abundance of strange, abnormal people. She pitied them, sympathized with them, empathized with them, and grew from her experiences. It didn't take long until she herself lost the ability to control her desire, the desire to sate her endless curiosity. However, the Mao she had met with so many times now remained a complete mystery. His vast wealth and questionable connections reflected the title Mao perfectly, but Yuki had never once seen the man commit a crime. That said, she still wasn't about to let her guard down around him.
まさか春が追っていた人間こそが魔王だったなんて。
This is pretty. It's a pretty one. Okay. Even at the school they attended together in her hometown, Yuki knew that Haru was searching for someone with some objective in mind. But no matter how close they grew, Haru would never tell Yuki about the Mao. She had only found out a few days ago when she interrogated a man who seemed to be one of Mao's pawns, Saijo. Yuki knew Mao's contact details, though he likely had many more, and had met with him in person several times. Should she tell Haru about these things? Yuki hesitated on this for a time. As she hesitated, Mao planted the seeds of the plan for that night's hostage situation. In the beginning, Yuki had no intentions of harming others in her quest for vengeance against the director. She hadn't intended on revealing Hashimoto's identity or dragging Miss Noriko into the fray. Her original plan was to persuade Mizuha to join her, fake a hostage crisis, and make the director squirm a little. Why did it have to turn out like this? The answer lied in Yuki's own weakness. She didn't have the courage to tell her father, a police officer, that she was involved with the man who had triggered the car bombing in the southern district. She didn't have the courage to tell Haru, either, for fear of being hated. Besides, her weakness was responsible for her desire for vengeance in the first place. What would Yuki gain by threatening and stealing from the director?
気が済むではないか。
Mao said these words. Is it really alright to just bottle up your feelings? He spurred her on.
理事長という最も制裁を受けるべき相手を放置したまま優秀な警察官になれるとでも、
And do you really think you can be a great police officer by enacting punishment in this way? Of course, she had said her words to the director. She had scolded him as much as she could for abandoning her mother and then having the audacity to simply skip her funeral. but the director merely gave her an empty apology.
なぜ理事長が反省しないのか。それは時田に力がないからだ。
The power Mao spoke of is one molded around the skeleton of violence.
あまりこういう大きな例えは好きではないが、この世界を見てみろ。軍事力の最も大きい国が最も大きな発言力を持っている。力のない人間がどれだけ素晴らしいことを言ったところで、一部の美談好きの人間しか耳を貸さない。結局は凶弾に倒れたり、多数派の迫害を受けることになる。
Every great negotiator needs a great assault team behind him.
私は子供が大好きでな。時田のような優秀な子供が話せばわかる時代を作り上げてくれると信じているが、今はまだ早すぎる。まだまだ数と金と握り拳がものを言う。
Yuki submitted to the devil's temptation. Then again, who could be subjected to 2 years with the Maou and come out uncorrupted? Maou was always composed and captivating, but most of all, he possessed the power to capture the hearts of the young. And as a result, Yuki betrayed Haru, hurt Mizuha, and is now being chased by the Yakuza. You reap what you sow. Okay. A shadow stepped into the darkness.
あら、水葉。
Mizuha stood there astonished.
話は全部橋本くんから聞いたわ。
へえ。
He seemed brutish enough to get the job done, but he must be soft on women.
私を縛ってたロープ緩んでたから隙をついて彼のナイフを奪ったの。
Good girl. Good job.
すごいわね。そんな度胸があるなんて知らなかったわ。その勇気の一部でも京介くんに向けられたらよかったのにね。
What does that mean? Aimed some of the courage at him?
姉さん本当なの？何が？本当に姉さんが学園で事件を起こしたの？私の父を脅迫したの？本当よ。
Yuki answered point blank.
そうしないと気が済まなかったの。それで気は済んだ。
Yuki shook her head ambiguously.
何？その手。
Aww, look at that.
困ってるんでしょ？助けてくれるっていうの？うん。
Yuki smiled faintly as she looked into Mizuha's eyes. They weren't the eyes of a liar.
自首する気はないんでしょ？
Of course not. Oh, sorry about that. If she had even considered it, she wouldn't have shoved Haru to the ground and run away. In fact, the biggest reason for not wanting to get the police involved from the very start was because she didn't want her father to learn of this.
まだやり残したことがあるからね。
The black flames in Yuki's heart ignited once again. She had left the suitcase with the money in the lab equipment storage room. Thus, even after all that effort and labor, Yuki had gained nothing. I need to show him once more.
まだ続けるのね。
Mizuha's voice betrayed her attempts to hide her sadness from Yuki.
水葉、どうして私が今まであなたに会いに来なかったかわかる？
Of course she doesn't. There's no way she could. The only person who could understand her mother's sadness and suffering was Yuki.
なぜ私の方からあなたたちに会いに行かなければならないの？頭を下げるのはあなた方でしょ？まあ分かってるわ。水葉は悪くないもの。それでも水葉に会いに行くことは母さんを裏切るようで気が引けたの。私も姉さんに会いたかった。でもどこに住んでるのか知らなくて。分かってるわよ。分かってる。そうね。水葉は何も悪くないわ。
Mizuha had merely been brought up in naive ignorance and harmony, unlike Yuki.
さあ、おしゃべりはここまでにしましょう。
As Yuki turned to walk once more into the darkness, Mizuha called to her, her hand still outstretched.
姉さんは 私を恨んでるの？
まさか。
Yuki said as she donned her usual gentle smile.
あなたは大事な妹よ。
The negotiator lied. Oof. Okay. Alright, let me sit back down. There. And there I am. Oop, I lowered this a bit too much. Something like that. There we go. Supposedly Tokita was spotted around here. Time continued to march on deeper into the night, as Usami and I continued our search along Central Boulevard.
先ほどちらりと聞こえましたが、ユキの他にもう一人いたとか？
Yeah, probably Hashimoto.
ということは、水葉は解放されたんでしょうか？
No, wait, they said it was a girl.
つまり
Meaning it was probably Shiratori, I guess. They must have run off together. Usami sighed.
おそらくユキはもう一度理事長を脅迫する気でしょう。
It's quite possible. She never did manage to get the money earlier.
自分は理事長のお宅にお伺いするとします。ユキから電話が入るでしょうから。
Alright, I'll keep looking for Tokita. We parted ways. Ah, well, that was short-lived. There we go. Panting, Yuki and Mizuha fled through the black darkness of the wharf.
まったく、京介くんは怖いわね。
After that, the pursuers showed up. One of them called out to Yuki. He even managed to grab her arm before she shook him away and took off. She took 2 different taxis in an attempt to shake them, but it was to no avail. Taxis stop at red lights, but Yakuza don't follow the rules of the road. They follow their target to the ends of the earth.
姉さん、どうするの？
A nearly inhuman cacophony of angry snarls rushed in from the distance. It was only a matter of time before they were found.
私に考えがあるわ。だからここまで逃げてきたの。
Yuki pulled Mizuha by the hand and headed for a nearby warehouse. The heavy steel door was locked. However, Yuki had met with Maou once inside this warehouse. The entrance had a keypad and Yuki had memorized the password Maou inputted. The warehouse's interior was dark and musty. Yuki pulled shut and locked the door before turning to face
こ
Mizuha.
んなところで何をしようっていうの？
Mizuha's doubt was natural. Even in the face of Mizuha's anxiety, though, Yuki untied a rope that bound the stack of crates.
協力してくれるんでしょ、水葉。
Mizuha's eyes gorged in
これ
fear.
は芝居よ、水葉。
Yuki pulled her dumbfounded sister toward her and tied Mizuha's arms behind her back. Mizuha's resistance to being bound amounted to no more than a quiet moan. Poor her, like, jeez. Like, what is that, there's a saying. I forget what it is in English, but geez, like from bad to worst, basically.
いい顔ね。そのままでいて。写真を撮るから。
Yuki pointed her cell phone's camera at her tied-up sister and pressed the button.
姉さん、説明して。
Yuki almost wanted to say, think for yourself. Shouldn't Mizuha know exactly what's about to go down by now?
あなたを人質に、理事長に死んでもらうの。
Yuki flatly declared her intention to kill Mizuha's own father.
私には覚悟が足りなかったのよ。たった500万くらいで許してあげようだなんて甘かった。だから春に見破られたんだわ。
What do you think you're gonna get with this? The ecstasy and the madness in Yuki's face reflected in her sister's eyes.
姉さん、本気？
あなたの父親が私と母さんを家から追い出した時、なんて言ったか知ってる？知らないわよね。
Go die in the cold. Yuki remembered it clearly. In the cold, under the falling snow, they had been thrown out with no more than the clothes on their backs. Mizuha may be trembling in fear now, but her pain is nothing compared to the freezing air and the uncertainty of that day.
やめよう姉さん。そんなことしたら姉さんだって。
少しは私の役に立ってよ。
Yuki's stifled voice held plenty enough force to silence Mizuha.
姉妹でしょ?
They weren't very similar sisters. Their outward appearances were barely alike. I would say not at all alike. But their personalities were completely opposite. Mizuha's face was puffy and round, proof of her comfortable upbringing. She had a mushy way of putting her foot in her mouth every time she talked to the boy she liked. Her commonness finally grinded on Yuki's nerves. She's not your enemy. She's just a sweet girl. She's not guilty of anything. What the heck? She gazed at Mizuha's neck. Her younger sister had kept Yuki's ancient memento dearly these long years.
私、寒かったのよ。そのマフラーすら返してほしいって思うくらいに。
Mizuha was speechless when she realized that her sister's eyes bore no hesitation. There was nothing more to say.
さて。
Yuki transmitted the photograph she had just taken. Let the second round begin, Haru. Oh dear lord. Why are you showing me tiny people? I cannot resist tiny people. My heart melts. What is this? Ah! Look at those ear warmers too. Yeah, the snowman is cute. Yeah. Are these pine cones? Yeah, I think these are pine cones. And buttons and twigs in a bucket. Yeah, it's so cute. A winter wonderland waiting just beyond an oak and beach-lined promenade. This hill in the eastern district of Tomabetsu City was Mizuha and Yuki's favorite spot to play. Oh my god, the voices too, I'm dying. They had spent 2 hours making a child-sized snowman.
水葉が名前つけなさいよ。あなたがほとんど作ったんだから。お姉ちゃんにつけてほしいの。
Mizuha always copped a bratty attitude around her parents, but today with Yuki she wore a carefree smile.
じゃあ。
Yuki began with crossed arms.
雪太郎は？
Yuki... Okay.
雪太郎か。かわいいな。やっぱり違うのがいい。何にするの？水葉の好きな男の子の名前にしたい。
Okay.
そんなのやだよ。恥ずかしいよ。
The cold, fluffy snow piled up on the sisters' shoulders. Snowflakes landed on the tips of their toes, gradually melting into the warmth of their shoes. Yeah, I know, the voices are adorable. I'm melting over here. Perhaps not unlike the endlessly dancing white weather, Mizuha's laughter refused to subside. This was an old happy memory. They had played with all their hearts until nightfall. They didn't want to go home. They didn't want to leave this sense of unity for their typically divided family. What awaited them was a strange household with 2 mothers. Yuki never bothered to consider how her parents and Mizuha's had come to live together until much later. Nevertheless, it seemed Yuki's mother was important to the Shiratori household. Even in their earliest memories, Yuki remembers her mother doling out orders as her father's personal assistant.
水葉ね、お姉ちゃんと結婚するんだ。
Oh. Her sister's sweet voice made its way to Yuki's ears. It was an unforgettably serene
法
sensation.
律でね、姉妹は結婚できないんだって。でも、水葉とお姉ちゃんは違くて、とにかく結婚できるんだよ。
Oh, kids.
そうね。
私が男だったらよかったわね。
She was an adorable little sister. The snowflakes caught in her eyelashes glittered like teardrops framing her innocent smile.
お姉ちゃん、水葉のこと好き？
ええ、もちろん。
水葉も大好き。
Aww. Mizuha shuffled her feet about, then gathered up the displaced snow in her
どうし
hands.
たの？
Mizuha smiled mischievously as she packed a tiny
ち
snowball.
ょっと、まさか私にぶつけようっていうの？
そんなことしないよ。これは雪太郎のご飯だよ。
Okay.
ご飯って。
Mizuha was a sweet little girl. Her diligent preparation of a snowman's meal was no less than dazzling to her cool, mature older sister.
ねえねえ、おむすびの中に何入れたらいい？やっぱり梅干しかな。
She's making snow rice balls. That's adorable. I'm dying here. There was definitely some romantic tension at the present. I was shocked they are sisters. I mean, I guess they were just like, I don't know, playing into it, but not necessarily meaning it. I don't know. And yeah, also notice how Yuki is wearing the purple scarf here, which I guess is what Mizuha is wearing these days. Oh my heart.
梅干しなんてないでしょ。
じゃあ何入れる？
言葉を込めてあげなさい。
Words.
言葉？
Okay.
そう。言葉はとっても強いの。
My heart, my soul, yes, Vancho.
強いの？
剣は剣よりも強しっていうくらいだから絶対よ。千の銃剣よりも3つの敵意ある新聞の方が怖いとも言うし。
お姉ちゃんは物知りだからな。
Mizuha's tiny head nodded over and over. Yuki dearly loved her little puppy of a sister.
梅干しを入れてもしばらくしたらなくなっちゃうでしょ。
うん。梅干しも死んじゃう。
でも言葉は決してなくならないわ。私たちが覚えている限り。
おお、そっか
たとえ雪太郎がかけちゃっても私たちが残した言葉は永遠になくならないでしょ。
ー。なるほど。言葉ってとっても強いんだね。
水葉も何かあったらまず話すのよ。どれだけ怖い人でも話せば分かってくれるから。
パパとママも？
Yuki smirked at that. Yuki was still young and innocent. She had yet to understand the critical role of violence following in the shadows of words.
もちろんよ。さあ、雪太郎にご飯をあげましょう。
うん。もう言葉は決まってるんだ。
何？教えて。
Her little sister cheerfully answered.
水葉はいつでも姉さんの味方だよって。
Aww. Yuki couldn't help but crack a smile.
ちょっとちょっと。そんな言葉を雪だるまに食べさせないでよ。
Their laughter diffused into the winter sky. The sun gradually sank behind the horizon, dimming the earth, but the sisters' radiance was not so easily wrested. Not the slightest hint of their coming parting was present in those dazzling winter days. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. The men who had been chasing Tokita reported in, and she had apparently last been seen with Shiratori near the docks in the western district. The sounds of the night and the waves crashing against the wharf were interrupted by the ringing of my cell phone. At the harbor. Why do you think that? What was the picture? Now even her sister's gone and taken her hostage. Well, was there a caption or anything? The warehouse is near Azai-san? What? And what if we don't? She'll kill Shiratori.
とにかく急いでそちらに伺います。理事長も写真を見て承知してくださいました。
Alright. In the meantime, we'll look for the warehouse Tokita is in and get the perimeter set up. What is Tokita planning? She's not really going to kill Shiratori, is she? Is she doing all this just to get back at the director? Again, one of these. Dozens of rushing footsteps beat at the ground outside the warehouse. Light leaked out from the inside, so it was likely quite easy to locate Yuki and Mizuha amongst the port's many storage buildings. A few short moments later, men were already kicking at the door and shouting. The warehouse's iron door held fast and strong. There were nothing but a gang of hoodlums. Unlike the police, they didn't have the tools necessary to force their way inside.
姉さん、どうするの？何？もう逃げられないわよ。
そうかしらね。
She said as she shrugged her shoulders rebelliously.
逃げ切ってみせるわよ。
どうやって？
正面から堂々とよ。
そんなことが
できるのよ。言葉は力だって教えたでしょ。
Mizuha bit her lip after realizing her sister's intentions. Yuki idly looked down at her as she considered her options for the coming negotiation. It would be simple. Her opponents were a gaggle of amateurs. The director would be too worried about his precious reputation to call the police. Even considering Haru's raw logic, Yuki still had her nemesis bested soundly when it came to persuasive skill. The only problem would be her final bastion of innocence. Once Yuki commits a crime herself, she has turned down a dark path from which there is no return. Yeah, her father's golden record would be forever tarnished if his daughter became a criminal. It is for this reason that Yuki apologized to her father, Tokita Akihiro, in her heart. She desperately wished she could have at least said a word of parting to him, but the march of time would permit no such thing.
姉さんお願い。考え直して。
Is enacting revenge really worth sacrificing all of this? Crashing and burning everything good in your life? I bet you're not even gonna get any sort of proper satisfaction out of it either. It'll just be like an empty thing, I bet. Mizuha spoke directly to the hesitation in Yuki's heart. However, her pleading, sycophantic expression only reminded Yuki of her filthy biological father, and the hatred within her burned away what barricades held her resolve in check.
サイは投げられたのよ。水は。
Aye. Around an hour later, Usami showed up with the director in tow. The sea breeze swept up her long hair and tousled it about. That one there, Usami, see the faint light coming from the window?
間違いなさそうですね。どうやって入ったんでしょうか。
Usami's question was right on the mark, but I didn't have an answer.
一体今度は何だっていうのかね。
The director flared up at me despite his exhausted appearance.
真犯人はユキだって。あの娘の母親はうちの会社の金を横領したんだぞ。本来なら警察に突き出してやるところを追放するだけで許してやったんだ。
Mm-hmm. She should be thanking me, not holding some grudge, he says with a sigh.
まったく、犯罪者の娘も犯罪者か。
The director was lucky we have such a strong wind this morning. The eyes peeking at him from behind Usami's long, wind-swept bangs bore all the horror of Azai Gonzo's. I interrupted his whining. That's great, director. You didn't even get the police involved when you were the victim of the embezzlement? That probably means you'll want to keep this little case under wraps too, right? The one thing he cares about, not involving the police. Oh, I couldn't agree more. If we keep the events of this awful night a secret, then Tokita might have a future. Not that Tokita's future is of any importance to me. I was about to say. Aw, he cares. I'd just be a waste. It would just be a waste of an able mind. I mean, if I build my connections with her now, she'll be of use to me in the future.
ユキに連絡します。
Yeah. Oh, use that device you used before so I can hear too. Asami quickly took out her phone and began to fit it with the widget. The phone rang. Oh, I have to hide again.
遅かったわね、ハル。
ユキ、そこにいるんだな。
ええ。今度こそちゃんと倉庫の中にいるわ。小細工はなしよ、ハル。
The man himself spoke up in response.
おい、ユキ。貴様、一体自分が誰を相手にしているのか分かっているんだろうな。
愛人がいないと何もできない。解消なしの男でしょ。
なんだと？
Yuki imagined his red face flushed with anger. As she provoked him, she listened to the ambient sound in the background. The roaring sound of the sea breeze announced that he was indeed outside the warehouse.
望みは何だ？
ハル、立てこもり犯にいきなり要求を聞いてはいけないわ。
まずは仲良くなってからって言いたいのか。
そう。今の私はあなたの知らない人なのよ。
バカを言うな。ユキはユキだろ。ミザハもきっと悲しんでる。私もそうだ。未だに信じられない。
Yuki laughs at Haru's emotional voice. If she doesn't, the guilt will tear her apart.
まるでコントね、ハル。お前たちは完全に包囲されてる。ほら、田舎のお母さんも泣いているぞ。
ユキ！
少し黙ってよ、ハル。あまり感情をぶつけてくると、犯人が興奮して取り返しのつかないことになるわよ。
She looks at her bound sister with an icy glare.
私の要求を言うわ、ハル。
Yuki suddenly
今から
says,
1時間以内に車を1台用意すること。
this again. Oh my god.
それだけじゃないんだろう。
さすがにわかる。
逃げるだけならわざわざ理事長を呼んだりしない。
話が早くて助かるわ。
理事長を車に乗せてどこに行こうって言うんだ。
さあ、少なくとも理事長にとって楽しいドライブではなさそうね。
Yuki could hear Haru's breathing stop over the phone.
わかった。質問はない？これから先、車が届くまで一切の交渉は打ち切るわ。
Negotiators try to do what they can to get a reaction out of the criminal. After all, if the criminal is completely unresponsive, negotiations wouldn't have much of a leg to stand on. Yuki knows that and plans to avoid all unnecessary contact with Haru.
待ってユキ。要求を飲まなかったらどうするつもり？
あら、何のための人質だと思ってるの？水葉は置物じゃないのよ。
嘘はよすんだ。ユキにそんな真似はできない。
何？勝手に決めつけてるのよ。
Ay ay ay. Yuki feigned composure, but the anger inside her was erupting into a mighty
あな
tempest.
たが私の何を知っているっていうの？逆に聞くけど、春だって私に魔王のことは教えなかったじゃない？いい？誰にだって深い闇があるのよ。親にも友達にも相談できないようなストレスを抱えているの。あなただってそうでしょ？だから友達だからとかそういう甘ったるい考えはやめてもらえる？
Following that final provocation, Haru's voice changed entirely.
魔王のことは教えなかった。だと。
Yuki had finally let slip her connection to Maou. It was unimportant though. Haru's connection to him, her absurd bloodlust, had been a case in Yuki's point. It was likely her deepest darkness, one of those secrets known only to herself.
私は魔王を知っているわ。ええ。宿を借りたことすらある仲よ。彼は歪んでいるけれど信念を持った男だわ。あなたと同じようにね。
The gauntlet had been thrown.
わかったよ、ユキ。
Haru said as her tension noticeably
お
doubled.
前が魔王と関わっているのであれば、そして魔王を肯定するのであれば、私も容赦はしない。
怖いわね。
Despite her sarcasm, Yuki's smile
とに
twitched.
かく1時間以内よ。遅れたら勇者の大切な仲間が傷つくことになるから急いでね。いいだろう。
Haru punctuated her response by hanging up on Yuki. The younger sister was uneasy. Nevertheless, she merely looked up at Yuki as if she were worried for her sake. Haru had allowed her anger to show through her poker face. A display of tension during a negotiation can excite the
自
criminal.
分の心配をしたら、水葉。今の私の話を聞いていたでしょ。私があなたを傷つけないだなんて、甘ったるく決めつけないで。
Fear consumed Mizuha's eyes and Yuki was satisfied. Ay, dear lord. Okay. Right, so we're in this situation. I think it's a good place to... I mean, we're kind of in the middle of it, but given the time boxing for today, we're at the end of it, so it's a good place to make a save. And we will pick it up tomorrow, so there won't be too much of a wait to see how this unfolds in the end. Yeah. Okay, lots of stuff happening. Wait, I think, yes. Oof. Alrighty. Oof. There we go. Yeah, I've been yawning for a while, sorry about that. Apparently, tiredness has caught up to me tonight. Thank you so much for joining, and I guess being blown away together with me by these developments. Capybaras, yes, yes. So cute. I love the boba tea one. And the one with the strawberry hat. So cute. Yes. Yeah, thank you for being here, everyone. I appreciate you all. I have no words right now. I guess maybe we will have... yes, it's sad. It's sad. Maybe I'll have like better strung together thoughts when we see where this goes, because I really don't want to believe that Yuki would actually hurt Mizuha. I can't believe that. I can't. So maybe this is just a case of her putting on a show and really wanting to hurt her dad, which is the one person that, you know, she is actually after. But I don't think she would make Mizuha into collateral damage just for that. Or maybe I just want to hope that. I just want to hope. Especially, like, generally when there's a story about someone that's going down this like dark spiral of wanting to take revenge against someone that's hurt them. I am rooting for them to kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, that this is not a good place to be, and even if you enact that revenge, you will still feel hollow and you will lose even more things, even the good things that you had going in your life. So I hope we get to see something like that, because I wouldn't want to see her in the situation where she crashes and burns everything for the sake of this revenge. But okay, that's just me being hopeful. I don't know what the novel is gonna do. I want to meet their cute on the cat side. Sure, that's fine. That is okay. Yeah, Yuki came on as such a strong, cool character. And then it's actually quite interesting to see she has such a, let's say, weaker side to her. I just hope she, like I said, sees the light at the end of the tunnel and overcomes this. And then I will have a lot of respect for her if that happens. Yeah. But for now, this is where we leave it. It's a bit suspended, but we will pick it up tomorrow and see how it goes. Yeah. Fingers crossed. Won't let go of hoping until we know for sure exactly how things turn out. So yeah. For now, I'll say good night. Take care of yourselves. Thanks again for being here, and see you again tomorrow if you feel so inclined and you have the time. Bye bye.